Welcome to our first ever out of character session. We finally did it. This has been so long just in the planning and then pushed off, and we're finally here. So it's super relieving to be here. And we're super excited to start delving into the lives of our characters as well as our own lives. And thank you all for taking the time to join us. Just for quick announcements, I won't take too long, but our next session will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Mountain. And for further notifications and fun excerpts, you can go check out our Instagram or Facebook. And for replays, you can go check out YouTube. With that said, we're gonna go jump right in. We're not gonna dilly daddle. Is that dilly daddle or dilly
Those,
dally?
those hyphenated like weirdo words sometimes
Yeah.
are easy to mix up. Yeah, it's dilly dally, but I'm totally gonna go with dilly daddle from now on.
I've always said dilly daddle, and it sounds so strange, but
I'm pretty sure I've always heard diddly daddle.
I've heard dilly. I feel like.
I mean, it's the only thing that's ever existed as far as I'm concerned now.
I mean, I've already forgotten the correct way to say it, so.
Right.
Past the point beyond third.
But we're not gonna dilly daddle. But I do have an exciting beginning. You might be familiar with it since we are a group of family bonded role players. I wanted to start our first ever and hopefully continue this, our first ever out of character session with a family game, a classic family game. I've rebranded it a bit.
Rachel's sweating. She has no idea what's coming, and she's like, "Oh no!"
Rebranded it a bit, and I called it, with my dad's help, because he's much better at wording it. We've called it the Player's Choice. Dun dun dun.
Dum dum dum.
Or in other words, Pictionary. This is a game of memory and art. Some of us are really good at art, and some of us are really bad at memory. We were literally discussing this before we started this. That we were talking about how Rachel has horrible short-term memory, but is a brilliant artist. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. I wish you could be the one doing this, but I'm gonna be the one drawing. So, but I have great memory, but my art skills not so much. But yeah, so we're gonna play a normal Pictionary. I know we're doing like a bunch of this is on technology, but somehow we ended up deciding that we were just gonna use my trusted whiteboard instead
Analog,
of
baby.
else. Maybe later down the road we'll try something new and advanced and things like that, since we are on the internet. But we're a bunch of old souls here. So
It's gonna get worse and worse. We're gonna go like farther and farther back in technology every time. We'll be doing it on wax tablets one of these days.
You guys know the basic rules of this.
So much fun.
I'm gonna draw 3 images, and you're gonna do your best to guess. I'm not allowed to talk.
What's like the theme? What's like?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. The theme is scenarios from previous sessions.
Okay.
So I'm drawing these from events or dialogue that happened in our previous sessions. So Rachel sucks since she has short-term memory.
Yeah,
Well,
Rachel,
no,
you're in trouble.
Zero help.
I believe in you. But these are from previous sessions.
So like kind of moments that took place in this.
So consider this your recap, your study session.
Okay.
Before we go into episode 5 tomorrow, but this is gonna be tricky. But you guys can go for it. We're not gonna think too much. Hopefully I can hear you guys fine, and it's not chaos. But I expect you guys to play or suck anyway. But play something.
So the way it's happening is if someone thinks they know it, they just kind of say, I got it, and we're trying to beat each other to it, right?
I have to say it 3 times that fast because
I got it.
I would.
Right, and we did decide that there was going to be points included over the course of our next upcoming out of character choice.
There's gonna be what?
Our next out of character sessions, we plan to give you points for if you get the Pictionary right. So if you guess correctly, you will get a point, and we will give you the Player's Choice Award. Do you get it?
Ooh, we're playing for prizes.
The People's Choice Award?
It is a worthless award. It's worth literally nothing except bragging rights, and that's all that matters.
That's all you need, really.
And high score for like how long you can keep it before someone else gets it. So
So much more invested.
Okay, are we ready to start? I already have my 3 things chosen.
I'm not
So
is
so
not
I would maybe like
Competitiveness in her eyes.
maybe
What?
raise your hand also instead of just saying it, because with audio latency you might get like talked over. So it'll be like oh and put your hand up, and I'll try to help keep an eye out of who went.
Yeah,
who-
I'm gonna be drawing, so Dad's gonna be. I always feel picky about saying Dad, but that's code for David, and every other code that we call him. So, Dan, blah blah blah.
I want you to
But
imagine
he
that
will be in charge
I'm
of budgeting.
I'm the little wrinkly alien that's like the buddy of McCoy in the
fine.
new Star Trek movies. He's got those little black beady eyes that doesn't talk.
Okay, we ready?
Okay.
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna stop talking and rely solely on my art skills. So,
I mean,
ready? Okay.
okay. Draw big.
Make sure to tell me if you can't see anything.
Go lower on the board.
Yeah, go lower.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to use a darker marker.
Use the green marker.
This is a circle.
Do
Use
thick,
the bottom half of the board.
and then do thick lines. You might have to like. I love that we have room to evolve on this.
Gotta do darker.
I'm going with the general motion of your hands and kind of putting an image together in my head. There's a tree. Is this one like an Asriel popped out of a tree?
Oh yeah, an Asriel's little moment.
Little moment.
Is it my burning blaze fire tree? thing? When the tree is on fire from last episode. You gotta fill it in darker because it's very hard to see.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of going with your general outline motion that we kind of think we can see.
Not gonna lie, I thought it was fun.
It kind of looks like a mushroom cloud. I feel like we didn't blow up any villages. At least I can't remember if we
I
blew
don't
up.
think we blew anything
Oh,
up.
it's Pictionary of the future.
Spoiler alert.
Am I allowed to guess? Am I allowed to guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can guess. I'm kind of a player, right?
Go for it.
Yeah, you're a player.
It
Go
looks
for
like it looks like bread, right?
No, not magic bread.
Uh,
It's not magic
I
bread.
think it's magic bread.
Magic bread.
It is magic bread.
Okay,
You know what? I totally thought there was
Oh.
bread too when she did the outline like
That
this.
makes more sense than
I thought
Okay.
it looked like the end of a loaf of bread. Oh, I should have just said
Do you
that.
see it now, though? Do you see it now?
I'm gonna run over and hand you a marker that I have that's like a dark blue. Maybe it'll help. Hold
David's
on.
gonna school all of us.
we should have seen that coming.
We should have.
Okay.
It's the most crucial
Okay,
part.
but
part of
I blame the
plot.
fact that it was a very it was more of a shadow really that we could see.
No, I have
I really couldn't. See
I'm
it.
sure that if it was a darker marker, I would have gotten it.
I didn't say anything
Hey,
either.
Magical gnome bread.
magic bread. Moving to the second one. You ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Okay. Ooh, he just came with a handful of markers.
Bam! One of those worked.
Oh.
Try
Okay.
them all, see what's the darkest.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's not the shape I wanted.
Can't see it very well anyway. Try a different dark one. Is there a black?
Black. It's the
That
darkest
is black.
Move down. Use the very bottom of the board.
Go down to the board, bottom of the board. Yeah, like
Maybe
no
it'll
lower. There
Bottom.
you go.
The bottom. There we go.
Black is helping a little bit.
Is it a microphone? Is it one on Astral singing? I just thought I saw that. No, there's a face.
It's a horse. Is it
Oh, Dawn.
Dawn? Yeah.
Yeah. Wait. Who said it first? I wasn't paying attention. Okay, I'm
He said
gonna.
horse. I said
There's
Dawn.
a second part
I
of
said
this.
horse, and you
Guys, I raised
piggybacked
my
off
hand
my.
to say
Wait. No. Who said Dawn first?
I said Dawn.
I-
She said horse.
I think it has to go to Dawn.
Oh,
The second part of this, though. Careful.
Oh.
Second part.
There's a second part.
Oh, we haven't gotten the whole thing yet.
Is it when Akerly's riding on Dawn into battle? Is it when Dawn and her are in front of the Dawn? Is it when Dawn and Akerly are doing their little thing where she's feeding him the food?
Guys,
Is
Beth
it-
came to win.
Is it when
what is Dawn doing with a redhead?
Is it when Dawn's with? I can't see very well, so I'm literally just going off memory here.
I don't remember there being a redhead.
My clothes.
Is it with Dawn and Wicket when Wicket is like, "Oh, Dawn likes me"?
Is it Donna and Nasriel? Because Nasriel's scared of horses.
Yeah. Ooh. That is a good one because that's real specific. That one actually revolves around like a character choice that our Nazriel made.
Okay, moving on. Last one.
Really bad at
But-
so sharing.
But we kind of need to get a Nazriel into like the evaluation chair and really get to the bottom of this fear of horses and like where it came from and
Why are you so?
Last
scared?
one. We ready?
Ready.
Go.
To like.
It's a boat. It's Pim's boat.
Bam! How'd you do that? My goodness. I just.
Competitiveness in her eyes.
You can't even see that.
Yeah, but I saw you
can't
on
see
the side,
anything.
and then I thought, what's a swoop? And then I said, if you went like that and you put a little triangle, it's a boat.
Oh, now I can see it.
Oh, I can
Like a
actually
banana sundae.
Yeah, it looks like a
I can
boat.
kind of see this
Boat.
now.
You know?
It's Pim's boat.
Yeah, it's Pim's boat.
oh, we can
Yep,
see it.
good job.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty decent representation of Pim's boat. Good
Yeah.
job.
It is.
Listening to descriptions.
Who got the most points, Dad?
Technically, if you count me, that was actually we only did 3 altogether, right? So
Yeah.
the Dawn
Yeah,
one we had to go all the way
Maddie
through.
had to
That
go
was
in.
Maddie then in the end, right? Because Maddie's
Yeah,
the
so
one
I
that
think
ended
we
up with
each
it.
got one.
Beth
Yeah.
got 1, Maddie got 1, and technically I got 1. So
Ooh.
we tied. So maybe we should just
I hate
hang
that
in
so
there.
much.
Over rollover. We'll do rollover points to the next episode, and just as soon as the first person that pulls ahead at the end of an episode, they get the Player's Choice Award, and then they can hold it onto it until the next person comes and destroys them Hunger Games style and takes it away from them. And I think that's how we're gonna probably
Exactly.
need to do this.
Exactly.
I think we should just keep it going and just like an episode like 25, one of us will just have like 112 points from past episodes.
Or it's like whoever reaches so many points first, like they win, they get, and then we have to start over
Ooh.
or something.
We'll
like
work on
over, like,
this. I love how
20.
serious we are about getting this Player's Choice
We're
Award.
very serious
Yeah.
about awards and points.
we are.
And Maddie's
That's
very
all
serious
three
about
goes.
saving her points for retirement, I think is what she said.
No banter.
And then we can count how many times each person won the Player's Choice Awards, and then at the end of our season or campaign, whoever won the most times gets like the ultimate prize.
Right. Well, the Player's Choice Award will now stay with me until next session or
At
next
least,
couple
yeah.
of sessions,
I
and
feel
then
like Abigail rigged this so she could have the Player's Choice Award.
we'll up
I
the
feel like
competition.
Abigail deserves the Player's Choice Award.
Is she ever gonna get it if she's the one running it?
She has
One
it right
day.
now.
Rigged.
One day you'll
Maybe-
be surprised.
maybe
I
s-
have some plans.
Right.
But you guys did well. That was very well. It didn't show up the way we wanted to. We'll rethink that. But you did well. But speaking of magical bread, that was a really funny excerpt of the last session. That was session 4 or session 3.
Session 3, I think.
Session 3.
Yeah, I think it was session 3.
Yeah, the beginning of session 3. That
Right,
was
right,
that
Rachel?
made me laugh. Mhm.
Oh, for sure.
But I quickly wanted to ask because these questions in session 3 were directed to our dear Wicket and our dear Bitsy, and I wanted to ask really quickly on a scale of 1 to 10, A, how offended was Wicket by this notion of magic bread, and B, how what's the word? How
Diddle daddle? No,
or excited, how confused or excited was Bitsy over the notion of magic bread? We'll start with Beth.
So I'm only answering the Wicket question? Is that
Yeah.
what I'm... Okay.
How offended, or on a scale of 1 to 10, or you can totally throw out the scale and just give us your thoughts on magic bread. It's like a food review, you know?
You have so many thoughts.
Wicket started off just confused. What are you talking about? And then she moved to getting quickly annoyed that the whole, like, the thing gnomes were known for were magic bread, and it didn't even exist, and so it was definitely at least a 9, if not a 10 of offense.
It progressed from like a 2 to a 5 to a 9.
Yeah, it progressed
started
up to a 9. She wasn't like, blow her top off. She's a pretty positive little gnome for the most part, but she couldn't fathom why people thought this bread was magic and real and the thing that gnomes are known for, because they're not, and they do so many other cool things. Like Wicket's a tinkerer, so she's like, no, we make things. It's not magic.
Like
we do
magic
things that are
bread.
We're
real.
not takers.
Real things. I think she was just offended a little bit, but it wasn't like too
A little bit, meaning a 9.
meaning a 9. It like progressed though. Like at first it was just confusion. It was like 1, 2, and like, no, we don't do that. And then
No, seriously, we don't do that.
we don't do that. So if you are talking about it, we don't do that.
That's what it felt like by the end, for sure.
Yeah.
So the lesson here is that if you want to make Wicket mad, you really got to work for it. You've got to progress it, and you've got to push all the buttons. But
yeah, she's not quick to anger or anything, and she wasn't even angry. She was getting offended. Yeah.
what about Bitsy? She was all over this idea of magic bread.
Oh, she was ecstatic. I think going into it,
Wicket's like over here, like, how dare you?
You're a gnome.
being a
Learning
boss.
this.
I think the overall vibe is already, people are very aware that Bitsy doesn't know a lot about gnomes for mysterious reasons, but she's ecstatic to think that her race could be so magical. I mean, they're so magical it overflows into their baked goods. So at this point, she's sitting there like, this is amazing. So she was definitely very excited, and I think her character was very blinded by that excitement, because Wicket, a gnome who's lived with gnomes and has kind of like, obviously knows that this doesn't exist, her statements of naysay did not sway Bitsy whatsoever. This kid comes over and says magic bread, and she's like, yes, magic bread exists. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
And you touched on the topic that Bitsy doesn't know a lot about gnomes. So how does she feel about that? Because in session 4, it was sort of revealed that even a sprite, like not a sprite or pixie, which one was it, sprite or pixie?
I think it's the Sprite.
Yeah.
That a sprite knows more about gnomes than Bitsy does.
Mhm.
Well, not even gnomes, but that she knows more about Bitsy than Bitsy does.
Yeah.
So how is Bitsy reacting to all of this, like, this proof that everyone, including her group, this random pixie we met in the woods, knows more about her than she does? Is she weirded out, angered by it? What's going through her head?
I think Bitsy's kind of like Wicket. She's not like quick to anger, so she's definitely not angry.
Is that a gnome thing? Oh wait, you wouldn't know anything about that.
As Maddie, I know, like, in the general gnome race, it's very common that gnomes aren't quick to anger or hatred, but when they hate something, they hate it with their whole being, their whole, small being. But they're just not quick to anger. And Bitsy's like personality type, she's just not quick to anger. I think she's just overwhelmed because up to this point she's lived a very simplistic life, and then kind of to be thrown into this whole thing of not only experience but like knowledge, and it's driving her crazy. I think too that they're dropping little tidbits here and there that she feels like she wants to follow, but her destiny's pulling her in a different direction, right? She's got to follow the glowing fruit lines.
The glowing fruit line sounds vaguely like drugs or something, so we really got to talk about this. How often druggy things come into your vernacular.
She ate it and she sees things now, so going off of that. But, you know, feeling like she wants to follow these tidbits of information and go pursue that, but she's on a different road and she's kind of having to put that on the back burner a little bit and hasn't kind of had a moment to sit down with anyone and kind of really kind of just address her lack of understanding when it comes to her own race.
Right.
Is a little frustrating for her, but that hasn't come to the surface just because everything else has been number one for the past 4 episodes. So.
Right.
Then what is everyone's thoughts on Destiny? Because I know we all have different reactions. Like for Akerly, she definitely was like, yeah, no. And for Akerly, it's definitely like, I don't know. There's no such thing as Destiny. But I know like Pim and Nazriel, Rachel and Britt, because we did 0 sessions before we did our first session private, and you guys met Bitsy before even Akerly or Wicket did. So when you first heard this idea of Destiny, I assume that you heard about it in 0 session. What was your guys' reaction to that?
I think Pim kind of isn't necessarily somebody who really believes too heavily in the idea of destiny, at least not right now at this point in his life. I think for him, it's more these people happen to be going in kind of the same direction he's going in. And so for him, I think it's more of it makes sense, and it's a more of a practicality thing for him. So he's kind of like, okay, we can do this. But I don't think he necessarily like fully believes that it's a destiny thing, but he is trying to humor her, I guess. So he doesn't want to break her heart by being like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But I don't know if he necessarily believes in it.
For Anastriel, it's a little bit different. It's how to phrase this. Anastriel is someone who believes that everybody has a purpose, so she does kind of believe in destiny, and she's someone who has taken this idea very seriously in the past, and it's kind of let her down left and right. And so she's had, for lack of better phrasing, a falling out with destiny. But she, in her core, because she does believe it, is drawn back to it again and again, despite being let down all the time by it. So she does believe in it, and her reaction to Bitsy was an interesting one, because am I allowed to talk about things from the 0 session?
As long as they don't reveal like super secrets about your character or anything that you don't.
Okay,
want people to know.
when I met Bitsy, I actually woke up and this tiny gnome was standing over my face. So, and then telling me that I was part of her destiny. So for Anastriel, it was kind of she's a very go with the flow person, especially in her spring season. Because I play in Eladrin, and so they change temperaments with the season. So when I'm in spring form, I tend to be more impulsive and kind of YOLO-esque. Like,
YOLO-esque is a great way to put it.
You only live the life once. And so she's very go with the flow. So the idea of destiny is something important to her, but something that she has a love and hate relationship with. Bitsy made it a little more appealing this time around, so she's been
She
drawn
sold it in the right way, just like you would sell drugs, but she didn't.
Seriously,
That's
you
a
two with the
recurring
drugs.
theme.
The only two people here talking about drugs are my daughters, and this is starting to bug me. We're having a talk later.
Okay, we're done with the drug topic. But you mentioned that, it's part of your temperament and that you go with the flow. and you take life as it comes. But we definitely seen that about Nazriel in these 4 sessions. She's not afraid to go talk to people, and she's not afraid to go out there. But apparently, she's afraid of horses. So that was definitely strange, and to see her so bold and inspiring and confident, and then all of a sudden a horse comes into the picture, and she's like, no. Do you think you'll ever be friends with Don the horse, or why is Nazria so freaked out by a horse?
Probably because Dawn was mean to her once. I don't know.
She's unforgiving.
She looked at you weird that one way that one time.
I hate it with my whole being. No. Character choice, man. I really regret making a character choice that I didn't really think it through. Knowing we were having it out of character session.
Spur of the moment character.
It was a very spur of the moment decision, and I guess like every cool character needs a flaw. So
Yeah.
He's a people person, but animal person.
The cool thing,
which is funny because I actually have a high score on animal handling.
So the cool thing, I think the cool thing about that is that now you get to have fun sitting and thinking about. So where did that spring out of, right? So like those of us that are writers or character developers, you know what I mean? This is kind of part of the process. And the cool thing I think about this game is that you're seeing this process happen live, right? Because these characters we're developing them on the fly in some ways. We've got some kind of major things figured out, and then we're filling in gaps and details as we go, and maybe even changing some things along the way. And so it's the same thing that you kind of would do. Okay, now that if that were the case, you know, where did that come from? When did it happen? Was it, you know, in the battlefield sometime? And
my thought process is, I'm pretty sure this has been revealed in sessions. So I have been in battle before, and at some point probably encountered horses and was probably thrown one too many times from said horse. Probably began to associate pain with horses, and now like even though Dawn's cute, Dawn's a horse, and that brings pain. So
Well, I'm guessing because you mentioned that you have high animal handling, so I'm guessing it's less fear and probably more intimidation plus the trauma. So it's the intimidation plus the trauma and not so much the fear. But
I feel like this is gonna bring out a little bit of Summer. I feel like I'm getting called out right now. Me intimidated? I scoff in the face of fear. I'm not afraid of horses, but don't let one get too close to me. So.
I'm just trying to kind of. I'm playing with the idea: is Akerly a prankster? Is she willing to? Really
I would laugh so hard.
Scare the bejesus out of Nazriel.
Because Akerly has a horse that she can use for these pranks, so this will be perfect.
I'll think of that.
It was a very spur of the moment kind of decision. I ultimately don't know what drove the decision. It just kind of popped into my head and felt right, so I went with it.
That's cool. To me, that's cool. That's improv stuff at its best, and now consequences, ramifications, and as Dungeon Master, it's something I can use against you now, which I'm super excited about. So.
You do.
Well,
Horses? You don't like horses? Horses coming right up.
A herd of wild Mustangs.
Run over by a herd.
Oh.
That was very violent.
Well, I feel intimidated by my horse too because Dawn keeps rolling higher in stealth than I do. I'm very intimidated.
Actually, Anastriel as a character is really starting to respect your horse for the fact that she's better at most things than you are.
And I mentioned last session that she has the same armor class that I do. And that hurts. It really, really does.
It's literally just that she's more talented at these things than you. It's because you're basically starting at the same place. She's just more of a natural.
So we need to break this down, Akerly, real quick because
No.
Wicket.
So confident to see.
So Beth just told you your horse is better than you, but Wicket would literally never say that ever.
Never.
So what's up with that? Because I'll throw this at you that this relationship between you and Wicket is interesting in the sense that Wicket. I don't know if it's so much that you look up to / admire Akerly, or you are just determined to help her become what you think she wants to be, but you're very open about it, like as far as that. But I guess I'll throw the questions out because you can't ask yourself all these questions, Akerly, for you, because I'm curious. You've shown some reticence. You've shown some bashfulness about the way that Wicket lifts you up on her tiny little shoulders and makes sure the whole world can see you for what you are. Does that make sense?
Which is funny because when it was just me and Wicket in the Zero session, I loved it. And like, I think that's why Wicket is confused, because Akerly, like when we were by ourselves, she never stopped her. But the second other people were around, like then she became self-conscious and insecure about the way Wicket was sort of upholding her. But she doesn't hate it.
Because a little background in our Zero sessions, it was like very much like Akerly told Wicket that she wants to become a hero and stuff, and Wicket was just like, that's the coolest thing, I want to help you do that. And she would like constantly throw praise and support at her, and Akerly and her just like did it, and they're like, we're both gonna be heroes, it's gonna be great, yeah, we're so awesome. And then as soon as we like got into everyone, Wicket kept doing that, and Akerly just was like, shh.
And I think it has to do where Akerly came from, the culture that she came from. I mean, without giving too much away, she was raised to believe that was good, that constant like compliments and approbation meant that you were glorious and you were a hero. And so just at the point where she's at, she's reassessing those original values, and she feels very like limbo about those things. So it's even confusing for her. It feels like whiplash often, because it's like this constant battle between her original set of beliefs of, yes, praise me, yes, that means I'm doing great, and this shift and reassessment of what it means to be a hero, and do I need constant approbation to prove that to myself? But she doesn't want to disappoint Wicket either, and I think she values Wicket's opinion.
No one wants to let down a little child, you know what I mean? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Wicket is not a child.
She likes that Wicket believes in her, but she doesn't want to disappoint her. And so I think that's why, instead of being like, oh no, I'm not that, instead of she's just like, oh no, don't say anything, because I think she is fearful of disappointing Wicket one day.
So then that then rolls into a couple other things for you, and then I'll let you snag this back, because we've been in battle twice now, right? Once against some bandits outside of Baronhold, and once against the Talaru, these kobold, these kind of green-scaled kobolds that you just fought. In one of those fights, you got hurt, I think, for the first time in battle, and you had a very specific kind of reaction to that, right? And obviously tried to shake that off after you got your wounds cured, and Bitsy ripped the arrow out of you without any sort of surgical expertise whatsoever. I think that was Bitsy that did that. In the second one, you died almost. Like
we were close.
You went all the way to 0, right? Dropped down. You were to the point of making saving throws. So I guess in the first case, when you reacted strongly because you were shocked and surprised by being hurt in the first one, how does that play in with all this that you're talking about, kind of what you're projecting and what people think about you, especially in particular Wicket not letting her down, versus now? What do you think moving forward? Is this going to be a thing for Akerly after having actually fallen pretty much all the way in battle and having to kind of be pulled back up, you know?
Again, she's at a point, without giving too much away, she's reassessing a lot of her original values, and with that is also this how she portrays herself in battle. But she is very much concerned about the afterlife. And we were talking about this whole haunting thing and earlier on.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Right, but that concerns Akerly a lot, about where is she going after, and is she prepared to, and but also that she very much has this idea of who she is in her head. And if she doesn't match that or portray that correctly, she feels very disappointed. And so I think when she gets hurt in battle, she's very shaken because she's not as indestructible as she tries to tell herself she is. And that scares her, that she could die and she's very much not prepared to. And she has a lot of unfinished business with herself, her own beliefs, and other things. And then that the portrayal of her, like I said, being invincible is broken. Goes back to this: she doesn't want to disappoint Wicket. She's already come off as this like hero and amazing and extraordinary, and so she feels very vulnerable and insecure when she gets hurt. And that's why, because last session I was asking, where's Wicket, because Akerly was very much, I can't let Wicket see me like this, else it's gonna damage that image that she has in her head of how awesome I am, or how glorious and gallant and valorous. So she's just in a very like vulnerable state, but she tries not to portray that. She's very uncertain in many ways, but she doesn't want to come off in that way. And so I think that's her reaction every time she gets hurt. This need to like shake it off, but very difficult. It's very difficult to shake it off because she feels very vulnerable by the fact that she got hurt and that she almost died, and that scares her. So it's this constant mix between fear and then trying not to show that fear. So it's very much a conflict in her head every time she gets hurt.
Right. As Christina Perry would say, she's only human, right?
I mean, I've said that before. I'm surrounded by these gnomes and whatever in that reality.
Only human.
And a halfling. I'm only human. None of the kids in Barinhold ever noticed me.
Right. You just walk right through there like, meh.
Exactly. But, in Pictionary, Beth brilliantly knew it was Pym's boat, but speaking of Pym's boat, that was sort of what united us in session 1, was Pym's boat. A, because Wicket was so fascinated with it, and B, people were attempting to steal it. So Pym's boat is really the symbol of this group.
It's become the mascot.
Yeah.
We need to name the boat.
We don't have a right to name the boat.
It's
What
not
do you-
your boat.
Not yet. It's gonna be our
Yeah,
boat.
it's my
soon.
boat.
It's gonna be our boat soon. But how did Pym react to the betrayal of Cole? Because that was sort of wrapped up in that. Because in the second session, we see you sort of brush it off. But internally, what was going on? And then B, is Pym nervous at all, knowing people are after him and his boat?
I think as far as the Cole situation goes, I think that Pym was feeling kind of a couple emotions. I think on the one hand, there was a slight bit of frustration, I would say, from himself, that he trusted this kid so easily and that he got himself into this situation. So I think there was a little bit of frustration with himself for getting into that situation to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also on the other hand, Pym has spent a good portion of his life amongst a lot of different people, and it's not the first time something like this has happened to him. So there's both a sense of, why did I let this happen again? Partially because I know that this is something that sometimes happens to me, so his guard should have been up a little bit more than maybe it was.
It was the eyes. It was the eyes.
Right. So I think he's feeling a bit like, why do I always get myself into these situations? Why haven't I learned better in this scenario? Why do I trust people still? And he's
Right.
working through some of that within himself, I think. As far as the boat goes,
Dun, dun, dun.
I think honestly, I think at least at the moment, because we don't really know the full extent of why people are looking for it or why people are interested in him specifically. I don't think he's too terribly concerned about it at the moment.
It feels like a one-time situation to him.
Yeah, like I said, he's spent a lot of his time traveling. He goes up and down the river. He takes people out of all the time. Like, so people know about him. They know about his boat. This isn't like something he keeps a secret or anything. Like, it's something he uses for work and stuff. So it's not, I don't think it's a big concern to him that people know or are aware of it. And I think it makes sense to him that some people might want something like that because of what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more that he doesn't know specifically why that might be a bit of a concern for him. But the why we still don't know. So
right, who knows? But you mentioned that people know about you. Mm-hmm. You're not like this shadow figure. But we were talking in session 3, the Baron came to us and he talked to you, and it was basically settled that as of now you are our leader. So A, how does Rachel feel about that? Because I know it's very different. And then B, how does Pim feel about this? That because we've only known each other for 2 days as of session 4.
Right.
Or 3 days, 2.
Yeah.
Right. I don't remember. Nothing higher than that. So how does Rachel feel about being thrust into this leader position? And then how does Pim feel?
Rachel's least favorite thing in the entire world is any sort of attention. So for me, it's not something like, for me, if it was my personal character choice, not a character choice I would have made. I very much would have been the person that's been like,
hey, but that's the nature of role play.
I'll just hang along. But I think in the moment, because of who Pim is and him, I think him being a bit older, him kind of knowing the area that they're in, having a bit more experience with the people and kind of doing what we're currently doing as far as kind of exploring the wild and doing that kind of stuff. I think he has a bit more experience in those areas than maybe some of the other characters do. And so I think a lot of that, in his mind, it made sense for him to kind of take the lead.
Right.
And I think that's kind of where it lies for him, is it's not necessarily that he thinks like, oh yeah, I want to be the leader, or like I should be the leader. It's more of a,
it makes sense.
Given the group and where we're at, like it makes sense for him to be the one to kind of step up. And so he's comfortable doing that if he needs to.
Well, and you mentioned before, like your whole thoughts on Destiny, that it was practical. And I think maybe that's the same case here. It's practical. But I think definitely it might change down the line if we go somewhere else and you're like out of your element. Exactly. So I think I quickly learned that, oh yes, Pim is the right person because he's from around here. And then this also might change later down the line when we come across things that some of us aren't sure about.
Exactly. He's not married to the idea of being the leader. He doesn't have to.
Right. On a different note, now this is a question for everyone, but do you think Nazriel is friendly or flirty? Now, I'm gonna let everyone
being so attacked.
I'm gonna let
confidence has been called into question.
I think Nazriel is both. That's my vote.
I also think Nazriel is both.
Are we talking out of character or like what our character?
Are we talking about
first thought?
And
Her character.
I think it really depends on the person, because I think like when like the very first session, you were just very bold. You're not shy, and you go up to this bard, go to this guy. You never order for yourself.
I did too. I said I'll have what he's having.
Exactly. Do you like just like a fear? You just don't know how to order, so you're like, I'll just have what he's having. But like I could tell the difference, like with the people at the table and then with the bard, you were friendly, but with a certain man named, what was it, Igrame? You were
Oh.
flirty. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it was because he was cute or something that was like, yeah, she's flirting.
They just connected, Abby.
I think that
Don't
she's a
overanalyze that.
natural. I think that she's a natural flirt, and so even when she may just be being friendly with people, it's coming out slightly flirtatious. But then when she actually is like full on flirting with someone, it's like flirting.
Usually
Like,
those
with that
conversations start with, "Hey, handsome," right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
every
So
yeah.
I think if she's
I
gonna talk
started
to a
with "Hey,
guy,
handsome" in every conversation.
I think if she's talking to a guy, then it's flirting, and if she's talking to anybody else, it's friendly. Because I mean, when she met Wicket and Akerly, she was very friendly, like just super interested in
When
it.
she met Ditzy.
In Anasriel's defense, she almost said "Hey, gorgeous" to Akerly, but
Well,
ended up not saying that.
When Nasriel and I first met in game, it was an interesting, definitely like the first moment was, we're meant to be together. And Nasriel's like, usually I don't move this fast in relationships.
I definitely think she goes more on the flirtatious side.
I think it's witty. She's very, very fast to respond.
Woody is charming.
She's very charming. And I think when you went up to the bard and you were like helping him, we briefly discussed like why you did it. But Akerly, I think she did feel inspired by that. Even though you weren't playing your magical instrument. But I think Nasriel definitely has a way of inspiring confidence in people. And I think that's what's keeping Akerly sticking around, is that you guys are good people.
And some really high charisma rolls
Yeah.
are inspiring that confidence. It's the "Hey, handsome" combined with a really high charisma base roll.
But we
I feel
also
like this with the "Hey, handsome," it could make up if it was a low charisma roll.
Right.
But we also we briefly talked about introductions too, of when Bitsy met Nasriel and when you guys met Bitsy. But Wicket's introductions are different. Does Wicket ever get tired of saying her full name? Or is that just like how it works? No?
No,
Never?
she is very proud of every single one of her names, and she wants everyone to know them, but she also understands not everyone can remember or say it all, so she made herself an acronym of Wicket. But her full name, Waywacket, Urkel, Carlin, Cribby, Ellywek, Templeduck, Timbers, Wicket for short, is like, she's so proud of having all those names, and each name was given to her by, a family member, a friend, and for a specific reason. And so each one is for like just very sentimental and emotional for her, and it's really important for her. And just in gnome culture, a lot of gnomes will have a lot of names given to them, and Wicket just decided to create an acronym with all of her names. And so she goes by Wicket to make it simpler for people to remember what to call her. But a lot of other gnomes may just choose one of their names to kind of go by, but they have all the names or whatever. But she's very proud of it. And so sometimes when other people, hence when like, I can't remember who, but other people were like, oh, and this is Wicket, she jumps in, Waywacket, Urkel, Carlin, Cribby, Ellywek, Templeton, Timbers, actually, but you can call me Wicket for sure.
But apparently saying it is not enough. You have to know how to write it, because when we discovered that ink and parchment, you were ecstatic. You're like, saying it is not enough. I have to be able to write it, preach it. But
Yeah, that was a pretty cool thing, like seeing paper and ink, and because I mean, the deliquescence happened, there's not really a lot of that going around.
Right.
And I mean, even the stuff, like she's a tinker gnome, so she works underground, and they probably have ways of writing things down, but like it's probably, I don't know how much that would be actual paper and ink. So I think, and even then, she's not necessarily the one working with those things. She's working with the actual earth materials and metals and rocks and tools and things. So seeing that is probably one of the few times, if not the first time, that she has seen that thing. And so she was pretty excited.
Right.
And of course, she just loves new things and knowing how things work, and she loves things. And so having a new thing is like, oh, this is so cool.
Right.
I mean, that's what led to our whole haunting conversation, was that you were excited about Moonstone. So, but I love that about Wicket, and Akerly loves that about Wicket. But on a different note, we have like 8 minutes before we're gonna finish up. So I'm gonna transfer. We're gonna take a step back here for a second. Go back in time. You can choose your form of time travel, whether that be the TARDIS way back or the DeLorean. But
I just had an existential
we're
crisis. You can't do that. I'm like, why? What would I pick and why? And I just fell down a mental rabbit hole just now.
But we're gonna go back in time nonetheless.
I'm gonna go with the psychological holding on to the psychological penny thing from Somewhere in Time, because I'm an old school romantic. I just thought real hard and went back. Okay. Good.
We're gonna go back to 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
We started role playing with the Fate system, and we didn't start out with your Dungeons and Dragons and your D20s, and but that I remember that transition. We were all like, me and Maddie, we had some experience with D20s because we played a couple times with Dad, but it was definitely a tough transition from the Fate system to Dungeons and Dragons. But we were helping Matthew, Dad's brother, Rachel's brother, sort of, what's the word?
Kind of flesh
polish
out
his world, right? That he was writing, and we had a lot of fun with that. I remember that. We didn't finish it. I don't even remember where we left off, but I remember my character. But then we transferred. We all moved away. We all ended up in different spots. This is why we're doing it virtual. But what made you agree to start doing this live D&D stream? I mean, was it family obligation, or were you excited? But I know Dad's sort of salesmanship was, it's not going to be any different. You're just going to play, and it's just going to
We
go.
all immediately called him a liar.
Yeah. I was like, hey, gorgeous, and then rolled a really good persuasion roll.
And I was like, natural 20. Darn.
You don't have a choice anymore. You got to come dilly-daddle with me on the internet. No, I know it was a thinky thing for everybody, for sure. Well, it's like one of those things, I think, and this was how it was for me. I think it was this way for some of you guys too, where it was a simultaneous, that'd be fun, and at the same time, kind of. And I think I feel like I remember that from you guys a little bit. It's that combination of, that would be interesting. A way to, for me, partly, to share some of what we're doing, right? Which for me is interesting. It's fun. It's exciting. It puts another thing out there. It's something that's kind of in a family-friendly realm. So for me, there's a little bit of that as well, because it's a little harder to find that my kids could watch. So that was kind of part of it, but also just a way to kind of connect into a community beyond just us in our living rooms. You know what I mean? So for me, it was a way to kind of reach out and kind of connect. And that sounded fun. To do simultaneously. Terrified, because for me, for whatever it's worth, I did not grow up doing this. So there's a lot of guys my age that their entire youth, their teenage years and on, they've been doing D&D or some form of it or something similar to it, and have been DMing and playing and all this stuff. This is something I stumbled into literally just in the last couple of years. And so going from never doing anything to DMing something like this on the internet where everyone can see, that's the freak out for me, because I'm still really trying to figure this out as I go, how to do this, how to do encounters, how to balance things out properly, how to prep everything. And so it was that kind of difference of something that I was dabbling in with my kids, to just for fun and trying to figure it out, to doing it on the internet where other people, especially people who know what they're doing, would see it, right? And so there's a bit of a kind of a double-edged sword there for that. So, but yeah, I don't know, for the rest of you, why did you? What were you thinking?
For me, it was similar. I was enjoying role playing in general because I'm a writer and a storyteller, and I have been obsessed with stories probably since I was born. So, for me, it was the draw of that and being able to share that with like-minded people. That also really, really scared me. No one on the internet knows this until now, but I'm intensely camera shy. If you put me in front of a room of 100 people and tell me I have to wing a speech, I can do it. If you put a camera in front of me and tell me I have to do a 30-second introduction, I will cry my way through it. So I'm intensely. My sister is nodding. It's really embarrassing.
It's so bad. Give that for this.
Yeah. So I was actually really nervous. My hands are shaking right now. I was really nervous because of that part of it. I kind of said yes just because my family has a plaque in our house that has a question on it. It's like a quote plaque that talks about what would you do if you weren't afraid, right?
Right.
And it's something my family and I have often discussed, of all the things that we would do if we weren't ruled by fear, and how we should try to live as fearlessly as possible. And ultimately, I kind of talked myself into doing this because of that. I was like, well, I'm really afraid of cameras. Like, they don't hurt you, but they do. So I had to talk myself into it. But the other part of it was that we were all in a time of upheaval. A lot of us were moving across the country. So we went from everybody role playing in the same room to trying to figure out how to do this digitally, right. Which was a very interesting experience. But it was a way to stay connected. And for me, it was a chance to do something that I may not have the opportunity to do again, and in a way that I could love it and kind of prove to myself that I am not ruled by fear.
Right.
I'm really grateful that we did this, and that we figured it all out, and that we committed, because I think we would have to depend on family reunions 10 years from now. But I'm really happy we did this. But this is all the time we have, and I'm excited to see where we go from here, and to keep doing this in further out of character sessions. But we have our session 5 tomorrow, so look forward to that. We left off with, we had just finished a battle. I'm on the ground dying. No, I was saved. I'm stabilized, so I'm just bleeding out, not dying. There's a difference.
Yeah, half of our
I'm also
members.
in rough shape.
Axe.
Yeah, Pim got burned.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have to still go get the shaman from the cave, right? To go save.
Yeah.
Long list to
But
do.
one of them ran into the cave.
The cave. Well,
Right.
tomorrow's definitely going to be exciting. We left off on a cliffhanger, so make sure to join us for session 5 so we can beat up more Talaru and heal our new traumas that just happened. But with all that said, our episodes are every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we hope you can make it tomorrow and enjoy the ride alongside us and our characters. Have a good rest of your evening and keep making good choices. If you can't make good choices, make interesting choices. And if none of those are on the table, then just make a choice. Somewhere.
Or
Alright,
like go home and watch some TV.
Right. Or
Avoid
just procrastinate all choices. Okay, guys, we're signing off. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.